Hello everyone! So Nintendo just dropped a new trailer for the upcoming Fire Emblem 3 Hopes, releasing in June. It's a spin-off game of the Warriors variety, and sort of a sequel to Fire Emblem Warriors. As someone who has spent 250 hours on his own Fire Emblem Warriors game, and counting, I am very excited for this game. Now, I did a low-effort video just watching and reacting to the trailer, you can find that here. The next natural step would be to do a frame-by-frame analysis of the trailer to find out all the hidden clues and details. I could point out all the little things you might have missed and maybe speculate on what these things might mean, and that would be fun. But if you've dealt with me as a person before, like I do every day, then you might know that I'm not the most perceptive person out there. If I wore glasses, I would be the kind of person looking for them constantly while I'd be wearing them, so I wouldn't be very good at this kind of video. Though if that is what you're interested in, I'm sure there's people out there who have got you covered better than I could. At this point in time though, I don't think me doing one of these would add a whole lot. What I am going to do instead is mask that incompetence of mine by zooming in on a couple of details of the trailer that did not escape my limited attention span, and talk about them through the lens of someone who has played a lot of Fire Emblem, a lot of Fire Emblem 3 Houses, and a lot of Fire Emblem Warriors. I'm going to look at what I'm excited about as a fan of all three of these things, and what I'm a little afraid of when I see this trailer. In other words, my 3 hopes and dreams, as well as my 3 hopes and fears. I usually try to make titles cleverer than this, like 3 hopes for 3 hopes, but someone beat me to the punch there. So, let's get into things. I like the twist that they pulled with Byleth and the purple-haired mercenary they now named as Shez. In the previous trailer we saw this guy, and since he was fighting Byleth, the obvious assumption was that he was an antagonist. But now we know that he is the protagonist, and he was actually about to get killed by Byleth. I've followed the discourse online, and there seems to be a bit of a consensus that the timeline 3 hopes will explore is something along these lines. Shez is a lone mercenary. At some point they run into Byleth at Redemire village, and as Byleth is about to kill them, a Nagarthan equivalent of Sothis named Larva intervenes and prevents them from dying. Then Shez ends up at Garreg Mach instead of Byleth, and ends up working alongside Edelgard, Dimitri, and or Claude. We know there will be a choice on who to side with at some point, just like in 3 Houses, but what we don't know is what kind of route split this will be. I have speculated in my previous video that it could be the way they incorporated the Fates route split in story mode of Fire Emblem Warriors. There, they had a brief route split segment where the group split in 2 and then merged again, and both sides met a group of Fates Royals. It's possible that they will do that again, but 3 ways instead of 2, so that you'll have a chance to spend time with each of the lords separately. Then there will be room for them all to interact, maybe even cooperate, reconcile their differences, and work through their personal traumas. Of course, it's also possible that it will be a hard route split like the original 3 Houses and the original Fates. Or it could be something different altogether. Either way, I like the concept they are going for, and I'm interested to see what they cooked up, particularly what it does with each of the House Lords and Byleth. When the Ashen Wolves DLC came out, I thought we were going to get more interactions between them, and while we got some of it, it wasn't nearly as much as I would have liked, so this is another chance. I really love the little twist that they did, that Shez is the protagonist and not the antagonist. I'm pretty lukewarm on Shez himself, or herself, they can be a girl, just like Byleth. I've never been a big fan of representation of the player within a Fire Emblem story, especially not into one that we already have without them. And I'm also not super big on the super purple hair, but as long as we get a lot more Edelgard, Dimitri, Claude, and maybe even some Ashen Demon Byleth, I'm happy. I'd like to make one very bold prediction here. Byleth will be playable, but only towards or after the end of the story campaign. There is simply no way that they made this game without Byleth and the Sword of the Creator as the Warriors moveset. Absolutely no way. It's just too tempting, and there are a lot of Byleth fans out there. And honestly, Fire Emblem Warriors made me enjoy playing with a lot of characters from Awakening and Fates, to the point where I started liking them more, and I would like that to happen with Byleth too. Now, this trailer was mostly about the story and characters, but I would like to take a break from that and draw your attention to the couple frames worth of information we got on the gameplay, specifically the parts about what happens out of battle. There's one part where you can see that we're buying advanced seals from a merchant, and there's a bit where we're managing battalions. We can see we have a base camp, we get to train with allies, we're attaining and mastering different classes, and you can see a bit where Shez is eating with Mercedes and Dimitri, reminiscent of the dining hall in Three Houses. These bits have me a little bit concerned, because it's looking like they will bring back parts of Three Houses and Warriors that I least enjoyed, the monastery and the micromanaging. Managing inventories, tutoring, learning, and mastering classes. I've always found these parts the worst of both games. I think almost everyone agrees that the monastery sections of Three Houses got old relatively fast. For me, they stopped being enjoyable about halfway on my first playthrough. Imagine now if between every fast-paced hack-and-slash level of Three Hopes, we have to tutor our students, and then they will get all tired, and we have to get their motivation back up by dining with them, all while watching unskippable cutscenes with repeated voice lines.
I like your attitude. I like your attitude. I like your attitude.
I can only speak for myself here, but that doesn't seem like fun. Fire Emblem Warriors isn't nearly as bad in this regard, but it does have a pretty atrocious UI for managing skills, deployment, weapon forging, and inventory management. It's a big contrast to the generally fast-paced gameplay. The mastering classes part also makes me think that units will not be tied to certain classes like in older Fire Emblem games, and like Warriors, and instead be freely reclassable like in Three Houses. After playing through Three Houses a bunch, I've decided that I'm not a fan of this system, as it takes away the uniqueness of each character. The different playstyles of the various characters is a big part of what makes Fire Emblem Warriors so interesting to play. The various attacks on your units, coupled with their different stats, voice lines, strengths and weaknesses, adds a lot of flavor to the game, and I think turning them all into infinitely reclassable trainees like everyone is in Three Houses, I think that'd be a big mistake. We've only seen this for Shez, so maybe it's available for them only? Now, I'm not going to go as far as to say that every second spent in a menu or doing something other than battling is a waste of time, but I do think it's fair to say that the balance is way off in Three Houses and could still be very much improved in Warriors. A little bit of customization and optimization is fun, and can be very rewarding if it turns a tedious and difficult battle into a manageable one. So I really hope they found the right balance here. But given Koei Tecmo's track record on this front with both Warriors and Three Houses, I think it's fair to express a little bit of concern there. I haven't seen anyone else bring this up yet, so please let me know down below if I'm alone in this. I hope I'm worried about nothing and they streamline this all to the point where it's all enjoyable. Now, before we finish off, I saw a couple more things that I'm happy about that I can't really group in any coherent way, so let's go over them in a speed round. We finally have Holst on screen. After Three Houses teased us again and again about Hilda's brother, we never ended up seeing him, but finally we have a pink-haired dude with the crest of Goneril confirmed in all his glory. This is the kind of thing that a spin-off is perfect for adding to an incomplete game like Three Houses, and I am super glad they put him in here, even if he ends up just being a cameo appearance. He is fighting what a lot of people are speculating to be a relative of Caspar, and even if this is just a scenario for one chapter, it'll be interesting to see what they came up with. Similarly, we see a guy that looks a lot like Claude fly around on a wyvern, possibly a relative of his. We see Monica, likely before she was being impersonated by Kronia, or before Kronia revealed herself. I like this a lot. Fire Emblem Warriors was mostly just copy-pasted scenarios from other Fire Emblem games, and I love that they're willing to explore relatively unknown parts of the Three Houses universe. And finally, while this analysis so far has mostly been about what we could see, I think it would be a mistake to overlook what we can hear. Some absolute bangers are on the way, as is tradition in Fire Emblem and especially Warriors. The Fire Emblem Warriors OST doesn't get praised enough. It takes some great songs from older games and puts a rock spin on them. This is everything that I've got coherent thoughts on so far. If I come up with more, I'll make more videos like this. and either way, I'll be covering Three Hopes as we get closer to release, and of course I'll play it when it comes out. I think my next step will be to do a video on whether Fire Emblem Warriors and Three Hopes are worth your time and money if you haven't played Warriors games before, so let me know if you're interested in that or not. I'll see you guys around. Peace.